Morning and welcome to a new week and also the 20th day of the month of July 2026 as we continue on our platform, as we continue the discussion, the conversation, and mostly the way forward in the Yoruba people in the southwest part of what is known as Nigeria. My name is OLAYOMI KOIKI, popularly known as Koikimedia on the social media network. And I say good morning and welcome once again to our channel. We have quite a lot of places and platforms where you can be able to monitor what we do on social media, but most importantly, we would like you to visit our newly upgraded website, which is now in full gear with quite a lot of detailed information. I can tell you there's quite a lot happening in the UK today. We are getting a new prime minister, and the whole prime minister, Keir Starmer, is just making his way out of number 10. Are we practicing the same democracy like Nigeria? I will tell you that is not going to happen anytime soon. But what I can say is there is quite a lot happening in the southwest part of Nigeria, and mostly as we still have a Yoruba, ambition to have our own independent country. But while we are still, working towards a right to self-determination, we must continue also to focus on the ball so that we do not miss the goal, just as Spain eventually won the World Cup. They played better. They were the best team against any other team, including Argentina, that were bullied. And Argentina is also, for those that do not know, was one country that took quite a lot of slaves from Africa in the 18th and the 15th century. We'll be coming back to that. But right now, quite a lot of things happening around the world. There is still the ongoing friction between America and Iran, which has not yet come to an end. A lot of people living in the Middle East are still facing daily cases of attacks from Iran as America continue to attack as well. So, but the most important part is there will be an election next year in Nigeria, and it is just a matter of time. And for those of us that believe that we want something out of Nigeria, we must also remember that without supporting the current administration, without putting things in place, it will be extremely difficult for the Yoruba people to have their own independent or their sovereign state or their restructure or whatever we might believe is in the interest of the Yoruba people. But the question many people have asked is, why should we support President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to become the next president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and allow him to continue the ambition and the second term so that he can be able to fulfill his most important security, economy, and many things that he has promised that probably a lot has not yet been done. Once again, you are listening to a live transmission coming on our channel on Koikimedia the 20th, 7th, 2026 at exactly 8 minutes past 11 a.m. on a very beautiful summertime in London. Quite a lot of construction one going across me. You might not hear the sound, but I can tell you it is beautiful day in London today and also in the UK as we will be getting a new prime minister. I'm going to give us a bit of the sound coming out from, BBC, just for you to hear, the passion of, people that lives here in the UK and, stammer to deliver his final address. But I just want you to hear the sound, and I will mute that. As soon as Keir Starmer is live speaking, I will release the audio as well. I've got a bit of my breakfast next to me. I've got 2 boiled egg and a croissant, which is one of my favorite. I will be having that. And I've got a bit of a, kind of a fruit juice as well. It's a morning breakfast. I will be speaking in English because of my communication to many people around the world. And it is not just my Yoruba audience that I am targeting. So for those of you that are Yoruba listeners, I'm sure you will understand what I will be saying. I will be speaking Yoruba in between, but please do not ask me to speak Yoruba alone. I am not speaking to you alone. My message is to everyone, including the international community, that they will not interfere with our election that is coming, and we will give every 100% support to this administration to continue, because power has been given to the North for many decades. It has been abused. It has not been used for the purpose of development, education, and we can categorically say that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu did not destroy Nigeria. Nigeria has been destroyed for a very, very long time. But let's listen to BBC, Sister Radio, Sister TV, most importantly, for those of us that live in the UK, live from Downing Street, and let's get the soundtrack from there.
He said he will remain as an MP for Holborn and St Pancras. That'll be a relief to Andy Burnham, because a by-election there, where the Green Party leader of England and Wales, Zach Polanski, might fancy a tilt, could be quite a lively thing. He hasn't ruled out, though, the prospect of
So that is just the feel. I've been to Downing Street many times. A lot of you have seen me there. It's a very beautiful place to visit, especially as a journalist, especially when events happening like this. Is just that I'm busy. I'd rather be in my house than being at Downing Street, because it is not just about what is happening in the UK that concern Nigerians. We are also concerned about a lot of things happening in Nigeria, the insecurity, bad education system, a lot of things that have failed. But most importantly, many aliens that have infiltrated Nigeria for a very long time. And it is time now that a state police will be able to measure and put those in place. We are also saying thank you so much to Professor Adebanji Akitoye, an historian that has done extremely very well in educating Yoruba people and Nigerians about our history, about where we are before the British came in and interfered with everything that we were doing as Yoruba people and the other ethnic people as well. We are grateful as well to a lot of our mothers, just as my late mother as well, and many people that have put in their effort in having conversation in the way forward to the Yoruba people in the southwest of Nigeria. We are also grateful to one and only Chief Sunday Adeyemo Igboho that have also established Iru Ekun, a security outfit that has been registered under the Constitution in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, endorsed by the Presidency, endorsed by most of the governors, because they believe that Igboho will be needed in supporting the police. We are grateful to the Inspector General of Police. We are grateful to the DSS. We are grateful to the military, because we know that for many years of the government not being as it is today, there has been a lot of infiltration and a lot of people that have not want the military to work. The Nigerian military has always been the best. We've known them going to Sierra Leone, Liberia, and many places. But why is the Nigerian military not able to confront the deadliest, most terrorist attack bandit that is making life miserable from Zamfara to Sokoto to Kaduna and many other places, including Oyo, where we have recently been able to get back those that were kidnapped? The question is, because the Nigerian military has been infiltrated, the Nigerian military funding has been misused. The Nigerian military funding has been spent by people that I believe President Bola Ahmed Tinubu should go back and ask questions from those that have been the chief defense staff for many years before President Bola Ahmed Tinubu came to power. We will not sit back because we want an independent Yoruba nation and then close our eyes and allow many people to bring down President Bola Ahmed Tinubu My name is OLAYOMI KOIKI, known as Koikimedia. Let's listen to Professor Adebanji Akintoye. This video was produced on Channels Television by my brother, Ladi Akeredolu Ale. And the topic was 6 years ago precisely. Professor Akintoye, Yoruba nation living like a slave in Nigeria. For many decades, many years, the southwest of Nigeria that produces most of the funding and the internal generated revenue has been abused. We have not been given the privilege as people to develop as the way we have wanted. But I will not speak to Professor Akintoye yet. I have Kistama that have just joined us live from Downing Street, and I believe you want to hear Kistama, and let us go straight to Downing Street, where Kistama is about to speak to us right now. My name is OLAYOMI KOIKI. I can tell you Kistama is coming round. He's already on the screen there, but he'll be coming here in a minute. And this is him here.
In 6.5 years, I took our party from a historic defeat in 2019.
There's a little bit delay here.
Changed it so it was fit to face the country.
So as soon as I have it here, I will show you the screen.
Victory in 2024. Since then, it has been the privilege of my life to serve you and this great country as Prime Minister. And I am confident that Britain is now stronger and fairer than it was 2 years ago. Our economy is stronger. Our public services are on the up, with the biggest fall in waiting times for 17 years. Children are being lifted out of poverty every single day. Immigration is down significantly. Our defence and security are on a far stronger footing, and our international reputation is greatly enhanced. Yet the thing I will always take away with me, the most humbling aspect of this job, is the front row seat you get to witness the greatest things of this country in action. To see every day immeasurable acts of resolve, grit, decency and compassion from people who serve our country, whether that's in their regimental colours, NHS scrubs, or simply the millions of people in their communities who volunteer their time and their effort to the ground beneath their feet. We face a world now where our enemies will stop at nothing to divide us because of our values, our freedom, our decency.
I want you to take note of that. We will not allow our enemies to use us against President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, regardless of wherever they are around the world. We will not allow our enemies to divide us against the current administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, regardless of whether we want to opt out of Nigeria, because we need him right now to continue to the second term so that we can be able to achieve everything that we want, whether a restructured Nigeria, whether an independent Yoruba nation, or a better Southwest Nigeria, until we all decide on a referendum to opt out of Nigeria. Let's go back to Downing Street and listen more to Kistama. You're listening live on a live program that is happening. London, UK is getting a new Prime Minister live on Koikimedia. Let's go back to Downing Street.
My team, all the staff here and across the Labour Party, everyone at Number 10 and across the civil service, and everyone who has supported our efforts along the way. For all the focus on individuals, politics will always be a team sport, and the changes we've delivered for our country and our party belong to everyone who has fought for them. I thank them again today, and I thank the British people for the opportunity to serve. I go with good grace, I go with a smile, and I go proud of everything that we have achieved. Thank you very much.
I'm sure everybody wants the same kind of democracy like this, where you can tell the presidency to resign, as Peter Obi was telling President Tinubu to resign. You will all have to do it at the ballot box. Nobody would take President Tinubu out of office through any military coup, through any pressure. It will be done in the ballot box in 2027. And we will continue to advise all Yoruba people in the Southwest to put their support behind President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to continue doing what he wants to do for the future of Nigeria according to what he wants, but the most important, for the future of the Southwest of Nigeria known as Yoruba land. We will encourage everybody to go and put their support behind him. But if anybody is expecting that what you are witnessing right now as the Prime Minister moves out of Downing Street and it will no longer be a Prime Minister, is heading to the palace, the royal institution is a very strong, and they still have the superiority against the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister is working for the king. But the British interfere with our own problem. Oh no, not with our problem. The British, during the colonial era, destroy our traditional institution. Imagine if President Bola Ahmed Tinubu have to be working for Ooni of Ife as the paramount ruler of the Yoruba land. How would that not be a better place? Why is it in a reverse? Why is Prime Minister Keir Starmer now heading towards, and I can show you there is still, the motorcade is now heading towards, he's still shaking hands there, but I can tell you the motorcade is now on his way en route to the Buckingham Palace to officially hand over his resignation letter and say goodbye to King Charles. This should be the same way in the southwest of Nigeria that British created in 1914 fraudulent amalgamation, destroyed all our traditional institutions and gave the power to politicians. But in the UK, politicians do not have the same power. They are working for King Charles. You can see the motorcade is gone in with his wife, and they are now making their way to the palace. This is what we should have been doing if the British has not interfered in our problems. But unfortunately, all that has been stopped from the time of 1914 amalgamation, when we were joined together, up to when we were given a fraudulent independence that has not favored us under a regional government that was destroyed by the military. So why is it not the same? I'm asking a question. Why is it not the same? Why are we not experiencing a president in Nigeria? Mostly it would have been a Yoruba president, because if we were not merged with the other Igbo, Hausa, we would have had our own institution where politicians would have to be working for the royal paramount ruler, Ooni of Ife. And you can see the bias. You can see that the British were able to keep their own institution. Their royal institution is still well like an heritage. While we have Ooni of Ife there, Ooni of Ife cannot do much because politics today in Nigeria is controlled from the top. But while we still have the current administration, we must put everything behind him to make sure it continues, because Nigeria is never going to work. But we know that Nigeria has failed not just Nigerians, it has failed the Nigerians in the diaspora. Millions of Nigerians have had to leave Nigeria because of one reason or the other, whether for greener pasture, for medical, for healthcare, for business, for whatever reason. But the British kept their own heritage intact. And I can tell you, the Prime Minister has now arrived in the palace. I just want you to look at the video. Focus on the video, don't look at me. The Prime Minister is now inside the Buckingham Palace. There's a bit of delay right here on the YouTube, but I can tell you right on the screen there, it has gone into where the Prime Minister has eventually driven into. Imagine if this was the same way in Yoruba land, where president or our Prime Minister would have to go and plead, or not plead, submit their resignation to Ooni of Ife. I want Yoruba people to think. But unfortunately, we have been kept in Nigeria, and for many years, and you can see there, his vehicle is getting closer. But I can tell you the Prime Minister has officially come out of his vehicle on the TV and is making his way into the palace, where he will be welcomed by King Charles and say, thank you very much. And Andy Bonner becomes the new Prime Minister. He would also have to go to the palace. This is the way the British operate their own politics. And this is why we can never have a one-way traffic in Nigeria today, because we are running a different kind of politics. So if anybody is expecting the motorcade is going here, I can tell you, is just about to get into the palace, but right on the TV is already inside. My question is, are we ever going to see the same sign of this in Yoruba land? No, we can't, because we are currently running a federal system. When we were given a regional government, it was destroyed. They will not allow a regional government to work because the pace of where the Yoruba people wants to be has now been dragged down drastically, has now been pushed down. The British kept their own system intact, while the one that is for the Yoruba people was destroyed because of the interference during the colonial era. Can we reverse that? Can we go back to a restructure, a regional government, a self-determination? This is why there's a lot of issues surrounding Nigeria today. But what we are going to continue to do is put our support behind the current administration, so that he will be able to fulfill some of your dreams and ambition, whether you want a restructured Nigeria, a regional Nigeria, or an independent Yoruba country. And you can see there, the Prime Minister has just arrived at Downing Street, coming out of the vehicle. You can see it loud there. I am not joking. This is how it is up. This is how it is worked. This is how the UK system works. So the British are smarter than us. Is that what they are saying? If the British has not interfered in our problem, we will not be where we are today. But since we are already where we are today, the next line is, what is the way forward? Should we allow power to leave President Tinubu and go back to the north? Or should we allow someone else to become the president, well, because we do not like President Tinubu? Is that what we want? Or should we just say we can now reverse, think of the long term and not the short term? I will leave that for now, because I want us to listen to the video coming out of what Professor Adebanji Akintoye said 6 years ago. And we will now discuss about the topic of today. And if you have not read the topic yet, let me quickly give you the topic. Because like I said, this is just the beginning. It's not just a campaign. It's to rally around our own. Wọ́n ní ọmọ kì í ṣèdí bẹ̀bẹ̀rẹ̀ ká gbé ìlẹ̀kẹ̀ sídìí ẹlòmíì. We might have said a lot of things against President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, but we are not stupid. We are not dumb. We want him to work in favor of southwest of Nigeria and other part of Nigeria. But our own concern is the southwest, and it's not just about the freedom for Igboho. It's not just about what he's doing currently. It's about what he can do for us for the long term of Yoruba people after he has left the office. Because whether we like it or not, God will give him a good health. He will not die. Nobody will take him out through any military coup. That will bring a lot of problems to Nigeria. Please share the program and invite others to do so. I will be speaking in English because I am not just communicating to every one of you that are Yorubas. I am also communicating to other Nigerians that would love to hear what I'm saying. So the topic is, presidency must remain in Southwest. And when I mean Southwest, it means President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Again, presidency must remain in Southwest. Nobody, nowhere, not in the north, not in the southeast, not in the middle belt. Presidency must remain in the southwest, the real southwest. And President Tinubu must be allowed to continue. Does not matter how you feel. Politics is not sentiment. The North were able to hold on to power for a very long time, and they rally around their own. Buhari was given the privilege to run for 8 years. A lot of military coup that took place was between the North and the East. And the previous military coup that was almost going to take out Tinubu was also coming from the North, because they are not comfortable with the work Tinubu is doing right now. But like I said, whether they like it or not, Tinubu will continue and nobody will stop him. It does not matter how you feel. It does not matter whether you're comfortable with it. We don't care. We want him to remain there until he's able to deal with any problems that Yoruba people have encountered in Nigeria, especially the economy, the insecurity, how our education system was destroyed. Because the Northerners are not ready to help their people, so they were not giving them enough education. The Northerners were in power through military time and through civilian time, but they were unable to make sure that education is given to the North. And today, we can see the problem that has been created in the North is now trickling down to the southwest of Nigeria. The North are not serious about tackling insecurity. The North are not serious about tackling healthcare. The North are not serious about tackling the economy. Because President Tinubu met a lot of problems that Buhari did and the previous government and the previous government. But today, regardless of your feelings, regardless of how you think about it, presidency must remain in the southwest. And as I also say in the topic, we are having a new prime minister and the Bona stammer to offer King Charles his resignation. King Charles will accept that resignation, and that is the way it is practiced here. While I'm just going to have a bit of my breakfast there, I will allow you to listen to Professor Adebanji Akintoye on an interview that he was granted on the news night right there by Ladi. Let's listen to him.
Increased equity, justice, and development. My guest, who is one of them, is Professor of History, Banji Akintoye.
And the copyright of this is Channel Television.
Thank you so much for your time. Welcome to Newsnight. Thank you. You spoke at a public lecture in commemoration of the Yoruba Kiriji War. Yeah. Many students of history know that that war was probably the longest in the annals of world civil wars. But it was almost exclusively within Yoruba land. Now, before I come to what you said there, the war itself, did we, as students of history, take any lesson from that in the way you are seeing us behave now?
Yeah. I was actually looking at the lessons to be drawn from our history of the war.
Have you been thinking about trading for a while, but keep putting it off? Maybe you've watched the markets move and you've seen
Events that followed, the fact that after the war we became very rapidly highly educated people with university professors. Some by the 1880s, when the war was coming to an end, some Yoruba families were already producing their third generation of university graduates. We had started in 1859. We published our first newspaper on the African continent in Abeokuta, and very rapidly other papers followed, especially in Lagos and so on. And in the 1990s, as the British or as the Europeans were sweeping over West Africa or Africa to establish colonies, we Yoruba, and they were becoming very arrogant. The Europeans were becoming very arrogant and talking about the inferiority of the black man. The father, they said the black man has never created any index of civilization and can never do so, and so on. But we Yoruba showed them that we could. And we started what we call the movement of Yoruba cultural nationalism, which was the only thing on the African continent challenging the arrogance of the white people, and so on. But unfortunately, we didn't carry that far enough. We could have, and if we had done that, we had the influence to prevent what later happened, our becoming a British colony, and our becoming part of a large country. We could have. We are a large nation on our own. We don't need to be part of any country.
You're referring to the Yorubas?
Yes, the Yorubas, yes. We made mistakes. We had the military power, very big military power to resist. And
I want you to listen to this part very well. We have a very strong military power before the interference of the British, the West. They are scared of the Yoruba people. They know what we are capable of. And that is why we will put and rally around President Tinubu for the next tenure again. I know the Igbos are not pleased to have President Tinubu to come back, but you have no other choice to accept that President Tinubu will remain in government come after 2027, God's willing. We will rally around the Yoruba people to make sure that he's voted back in the government. I know there's a difference between the Hausa and the Fulanis. The Hausas want a better system that works for them after the invasion of the Fulani in their territory. So the Hausa would have a support from President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to be able to manage their resources. The Igbos would also have no other choice to endorse and support him, because already a lot of their governors are in support of President Tinubu. Their citizens might be mourning, but they would have no other choice, because every one of us have something that we are all in need of, whether the Biafra that wants to leave Nigeria, whether the Yoruba that wants to stay in Nigeria or exit Nigeria, whether the Hausa that wants to also control back what has belonged to them. This is the time that every one of us must rally around and make sure that the power to be does not go back to the north. And we cannot trust Peter Obi. I'm sorry. We cannot trust Atiku, because Atiku was in government under Obasanjo, and we saw all different allegations against him that he has not been able to prove. Tinubu is just a governor, or was just a governor. He has never been in government. This is his first tenure in government, and don't expect everything to work within 4 years. Peter Obi has been telling lies that he will fix Nigeria in 4 years. That is one of the biggest lies I've ever heard in my life. How will he be able to do it? How will he be able to fund it? What will he do different? What will Peter Obi do different? We know Atiku has been contesting as far back as before A.K. Wabiola died. Atiku has been contesting as far back as 1993. What is he looking for in the government? What does he want in the government? Why is he interested to be the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria? At least he was the vice president under Obasanjo, and there was a lot of allegations of corruption against him that he has not been able to clear. So right now, as Yoruba people, For us to achieve what we want, whether you want a restructured Nigeria, whether you want an independent Yoruba people to be out of Nigeria, whether you want a regional government back, how that is going to happen, I don't know. But what I do know is that we will give Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu the second chance to go back and complete his 8 years. And for those that are asking after 8 years, what would happen? Let us first push that first 8 years in and see how we will continue on diplomacy. Yes, things can be done violently, but for now, even America has not yet been able to defeat Iran in a war that has been going on as far back as February. With all the resources that American government have in their possession, they were unable to destroy Afghanistan. And the question for those that are asking, should we go to war with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu? The question is, why should we go to war with him? If those Biafra wants to go with war with him, let them do so, but we will not be part of that. As those that want Yoruba nation or those that want a restructured Nigeria. Because Yoruba people want two different things. Some want a Nigeria, but it has to be restructured because the current climate of how it has been formally done has failed every region, whether it is the southeast, whether it's the middle belt, whether it's the north, whether it's the northeast. Every single one of us has been marginalized in Nigeria. And this is a time this is the time that we stomach all our pain and allow Asiwaju to push what he is currently doing, because the northern part of Nigeria are not happy with what he is currently doing. And they are doing everything to bring him down with all kind of manipulation. We are not saying Asiwaju is the best. No government in the world will be the best. Donald Trump said, and I quote, he will not be going to any war like Joe Biden that had dementia, according to Donald Trump. But we can see that Donald Trump is also now putting the lives of 16 Americans have been killed since February when they went to war with Iran. And yet, they've not been able to defeat Iran. So it's not about spilling blood that we are discussing right now. We're talking about still having a government that we will continue to engage and demand for good governance. There's no doubt about it. We want good governance for every Nigerian, mostly as we are demanding from our governors to make sure that they can do the best for people in the Southwest. But if anybody thinks that we will fight Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, or you are going to use Sunday Igboho, for those of you that are not happy with his current position with the government, I'm sorry, that is not going to happen. We would work with our international community to demand good governance, but most importantly, we would mostly work with our royal institution also. So moving forward, because we only have less than another 20 minutes before the end of this breakfast session, let's go back and hear more from what Professor Akitoye said. My name is OLAYOMI KOIKI. This is Koikimedia, bringing the word closer to your doorstep.
Incursions of colonialism into our territory, we commanded a lot of influence in our educated people. We could have influenced the European government back in Europe. We commanded a lot of influence in our missionaries. One of them was the highest church of the
And the question is, can we get Yoruba nation without involving our politicians? For those that do not want to have such a conversation that Asiwaju must return back to power, can we have a Yoruba nation without involving our political parties or mostly politicians in the Southwest? I'm not talking about other regions. Should we engage them, or should we disengage them and continue fighting that we want Yoruba nation? So can we get the Yoruba nation and then our politicians that should speak for us must be put on the side. Who is the best person among Atiku, Peter Obi, and Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu? Who among the three do you think should continue to lead this government of Nigeria while Nigeria is still in existence? Do you think you can trust Atiku Abubakar? Do you think you can trust Peter Obi? That was an Anambra State governor, and there are records of what he did while he was the state governor in Anambra State, compared to what Asiwaju did when he was the governor of Lagos State. Yes, there will be selfishness, there will be self-interest in any government. They will speak, they will work with people that they prefer, they will issue contracts to their cronies. But unfortunately, we know that we will not sit back and not demand for the best for the citizens. Because the best for the citizen is also in the interest of the government. So, whether Asiwaju is perfect in this first administration, but there are indices that he has already been putting in place that Buhari should have done. If Buhari have done state police, Asiwaju would have done something else. But Buhari purposely refused to put the state police at his heart because he has already allowed the jihadis to infiltrate Nigeria, and we are seeing what is happening in Zamfara, where there's a lot of gold. So the Zamfara gold must belong to Zamfara, but the crude oil from the southeast must belong to all Nigerians. The IGR coming from Lagos State must be shared in a formula that doesn't favor Lagos State. Even though everybody wants to live in Lagos State, 20 million people living in Lagos State, that puts Lagos under serious pressure. Yes, we want other ports to be operating. We want places to be open up in terms of our businesses while we are still in Nigeria. We want infrastructure that can last for the next 30 years, not the one that is built and destroyed after a rainfall. And this is the time to allow ourselves to think for the long term rather than the short goal. Because having a long term will help us, but we must also continue with the short-term goal. The short-term goal is Asiwaju must continue with his presidency and his government. If those that are working with him as minister are not up to the task, he has the right to take them out and bring in the new ones, even if he has to bring in the young ones that will help his government. In any government, you can reshuffle at many times if you feel that your ministers are not doing the needful, mostly in the security side of things. Because without adequate security, many Nigerians' life is still in jeopardy. How do we solve the healthcare crisis? That many Nigerians do not have access to adequate healthcare. What is this government going to do? How will the Minister of Health be able to make sure that every primary healthcare center in all the 734 local governments can function at the basic level, going up to the general hospital? We have many Nigerians that are still living in the IDP camps. Why? It's because people are making a lot of money from those that are suffering. Why should Nigerians be living in exile? Why can't we live in Nigeria? Why should we be abroad, working hard, paying tax, raising family? What is it pushing? Why are we being pushed out of Nigeria? What are the reasons why many Nigerians are scared to return back home, even as they say home is the best place to be? These are many questions that will need an answer after the government has returned back to power, so that we can continue to have a future Southwest Yoruba land that will work for you, that will work for me, that will work for my family, that will work for your own family, so that we can all enjoy the dividends of government. But if we fail to allow Asiwaju to return back, whether it is the Yoruba nation that we are campaigning for, it will take longer before we get it. Whether it is a restructured Nigeria that you want, it will take forever before you have it. Whether you don't even want anything, then the question is, you are not a human being that must use your brain to think. Because as human beings, we must always have high demands for everything. Yes, corruption must be dealt with from the government, from the federal to the state, up to the local government. Because corruption is a disease that destroys lives. So there are a lot of problems. And where there are problems, it is the right of the government to put out an enabling environment and allow the citizens to come out with solutions. Why do you think we have, startups? Startups that are bringing anything to assist the government. And that is where it is done. Do you think that American government owns Tesla? Tesla is owned by individual. Do you think that American government owns Facebook? No. Do you think that American government owns PayPal? Do you think that American government owns eBay? There are many things that can open up businesses rather than many Nigerians going into fraudulent Yahoo system that will not help. But you must put in the enabling environment, the enabling system, infrastructure. Infrastructure will not be built in one day. We need bridges from Ikorodu straight into the Lagos Island. We need the waterway to be secured so that many people can travel through the waterway as it is done abroad. We need more system that will work within the Southwest and connect us. But that can only be done with visionary leadership that are more concerned about the citizens rather than their own individualism. But I will always say my Yoruba-ness come first as against those that do not believe in such. My Yoruba-ness come first before Nigeria. Because I am a Yoruba man born in a Yoruba land. And we have now been able to understand why we are where we are today, because the history has been taught to us from those that decided to remove history from the land while they were in government. But today, this is the time that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu must make sure that history is taught from the secondary school, even if not from the primary school. Because people that do not know their history, we failed. We will give Asiwaju the support that he needs. That does not mean that my vision for an independent Yoruba nation has died. Because the only way forward for us to engage a government is also to have what we want. Do you think that when the British government gave an exit to the European Union, it was something that led to it? Because when the government was in power under Boris Johnson, I believe, Boris Johnson promised that he would give the British citizen right to exit the European Union. And that happened with campaign. And today, UK citizens are enjoying their freedom of their exit, even though some of them are not. Like I said, let's go back to the British government. Information about the UK leaving the European Union. To help keep people informed about our work, we have compiled answers to questions we get asked most about the UK departure from European Union, 22nd of November 2016, last updated March 1st, 2017, on the www.gov.uk for those of you that wants to reference that. My name is OLAYOMI KOIKI. 20th July 2026, coming up to 12 noon. And as we have just less than 20 minutes to the end of the first broadcast, and we'll probably continue later on. The referendum clause is not currently inside the Nigerian constitution. We can ask President Asiwaju after his second tenure to make sure that we have a referendum clause. We can even use that as a bargaining chip for him as we campaign for him right now. To say that we will continue to demand a referendum, we will also encourage Yoruba people to go and vote for you, but you will give us a referendum. Tit for tat, they say. If you think that they are not listening to what I'm saying, they are listening. The Yoruba people wants to leave Nigeria, we will vote for you, but you must also enshrine or put in a referendum clause and allow those that wants to leave Nigeria to decide. And if we fail to meet up with the referendum, we will remain one Nigeria, but under a restructured Nigeria for those that still believe in such. The referendum, will there be a second referendum or an alternative to leaving the European Union? No. The country vote to leave European Union. It is the duty of the government and the parliament to make sure we do just that. You want to have Yoruba nation and you are just speaking English, speaking Yoruba on social media, and that is how you're going to get Yoruba nation. You think America wants Nigeria to divide? You think European country wants Nigeria to divide? They are all stakeholders inside Nigeria. That is not working for Nigerians. Why should we be struggling to get a visa to Germany? Why should we be struggling to get a visa to Finland? Why should we be struggling to get a visa to Australia? Why are Nigerians must struggle to get visa? President Asiwaju can make sure that that can change in his next second term. But the reason why they are not giving you visa is because they know you want to japa. You are also leaving the country just like I did 30 years ago, and they know that you are not coming back. So the chances of getting a visa is like a big dream. But while the British citizens are able to travel around the world with no visa restriction, it's because Nigeria has been in a situation that has not helped for a very long time. Let's go forward. How will you take into account the views of those who did not vote to leave the EU? Just as many people will ask us, what about those that doesn't want us to go out of Nigeria? Must you push us to say we want to go out of Nigeria? That is why we must have an open referendum. It's a conversation that will be open. So that nobody will say you are being forced, coerced to become an independent country out of Nigeria. And the answer is, our priority is to build a national consensus. Yoruba people must go back on the round table and build a national consensus around President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on the future of Yoruba people after his government. It doesn't matter how long you sit on the social media, you must also engage the government. And that is the way forward. We have already started a wide-ranging program of engagement and are listening to organizations, institutions, companies in as many sectors as possible to establish their priorities, understanding their concern, to hear what they think the opportunities are. We are going to make the most of the opportunities that leaving European Union as the UK presents, getting out into the world, doing business right across the globe, while at home, building a Britain that works for everyone. This is what you are asking for as Yoruba people. We can remain in Nigeria for those of you that believe so, but we must be able to have a business opportunity, go to our farms without being kidnapped, paid ransom, have 24 hours electricity, good healthcare system, good transportation system. Exiting the European Union. What is Article 50? Why do we need to trigger it? The rules for exiting the European Union are set out in Article 50 of the Treaty on European Union. This is the only lawful route for withdrawal from European Union under the treaty. The question is, what are the treaty or what are the ways for Yoruba people to pull out of Nigeria? The referendum clause is not on the Constitution. to be able to trigger that. If there was a referendum clause, we would have been pushing our politicians from the Senate to trigger a referendum clause. You can see the difference between what the British were able to do in 2016 by pulling out of the European Union as against what we were trying to do that was not difficult, but the consensus were not there because many people do not want to accept that Yoruba people should be independent out of Nigeria. But what they want is a restructured Nigeria, and Asiwaju is still the right candidate to do so. Let's go further. When will Article 50 be triggered? The question is, when will Yoruba people finally pull out of Nigeria? That will be subject to many things that would have been put in place, mostly under a constitution that we know that is fraudulent, is not working. President Asiwaju knows that constitution has not been in favor of anybody. And that is why they continue to do what they call amending the constitution, even though many legal experts believe that amending the constitution is not a solution. We can bring down the constitution, rewrite the constitution. We still have constitutional lawyers that are brilliant, that can sit with the government and bring a constitution that can still be used while we are still one Nigeria. But if they are amending something, I don't know more about law, about that, but based on what we have heard, what we have listened to, it will be difficult to amend a constitution that has failed from the beginning. It's like you're trying to renovate a building that needs to go down completely. It will still have problems. Let's go back to, these are questions that British citizens were asking their government. What is the effect of the Supreme Court decision? At every stage of this process, the government has been clear that Article 50 will be triggered by the end of March 2017. The decision by the Supreme Court does not change that commitment. We have now introduced the European Union notification of withdrawal. When are we going to put a notification of withdrawal to the federal government? All that has been put in place during the campaign for Yoruba Nation, but the government refused to accept and listen to such. We have now, the British people voted to leave EU, and the government will get on with the job of delivering on the mandate. As we do, we will work with Parliament stakeholders to ensure a smooth and successful exit. If we still want to have power to be able to do what we want according to the law, we then must make sure Asiwaju continue. If power leaves his hand, I pray for Yoruba land, I pray for the southwest of Nigeria, because they have a vision, a target. I will leave it for now like that, as we will continue to educate you on the reason why Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu government must continue. My name is OLAYOMI KOIKI, popular known as Koikimedia, and also the official spokesman for Chief Sunday Adeyemo Igboho. May God bless you all. May God bless Asiwaju Bola Tinubu. May God bless Baba Akintoye, Igboho, and all our mothers. And God continue to put my late mother to continue to rest in peace. Good morning from London, and have a great day. Bye for now.